Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Well, we've been on for over 7.5 years. It's a long time, and hopefully you've learned a lot about business over that time. But for those of you who have never listened to the show, well, you're going to hear something great today. Now, each week, we either take somebody that has created a company and went from A to Z, they scaled their company, and it's like, wow, that's a great story. I learned so many lessons, so many things from that. So that's one type of guest we have. Another type of guest we'll have where, I don't know anything about Facebook advertising, and now that person told me everything I need to know, so now I can go ahead and try it. Although, be careful when you try things on your own, because you may never, ever learn everything that the person, the expert that you're looking to has. Now, everybody asks us, my name is Peter, Ken is our co-host today, and they all ask us why. Why is Ask Brien spelled with an E? Because it's A-S-K-B-R-I-E-N. Most people that have the name Brien are spelling the name B-R-I-A-N or Y-N, and most people that use the name Brien are not really named Peter. So. I will go over the first E, okay, and the most important E that we have on the show, and that's for our E for engineer.
Thank you. I just figured you like to spell it differently, just to like go against the grain and be difficult.
Well, and how many E's are there in engineer? Oh my God, you have the E with engineer, and then they have double E.
We got the double E at the end. Yeah, we're flush with E's.
Wow,
yes.
Absolutely. And that's really good for poker because flushes are really good.
Ah, that's true.
Have a lot of E's. Ken, what are the other E's that we have?
Well, I've got a couple of favorites. I'm going to let you do your usual favorites, but I know that we, of course, have E's for entrepreneur, which, of course, is the main crux of the show. And our other E is empathy, which, is debatable of whether or not you even know what that is. Yeah.
Never heard of that.
Tracy and I are trying. You know what?
Empathy?
Why don't we add ego to the E's? We're missing a perfect opportunity here. So I think, yes, that as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, somebody who's been doing this for years, somebody who's just starting, you need to have empathy. And so that's a big E on our show. Education, of course, is another one. Must have proper education and know what you're talking about, know where you're going, where you've been. So those are my favorite E's.
What are we talking about?
I don't know, business and such.
Well, so some of the things, we have an logarithm. Wow, we're like Google now.
That's fancy.
We have a logarithm, okay, and we have experts. Like today, we'll have an expert today that's going to go over business development and marketing. And an expert, in order to be an expert, you require typically 10,000 hours. Typically, the way we calculated that out is 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, that's 2,000 hours, 5 years, 10,000 hours. After you have done something for 10,000 hours, whatever that subject is, typically you're an expert because you have gone through all the trials and errors and you learned enough that you can figure out, okay, this is the best approach to do something. And you're first starting out something and you just tried it out. No matter, even the best experts of the day, when they were first starting out, they had to learn by trial and error. And so therefore, you need about 10,000 hours. But because most of these entrepreneurs and solo owners are the biggest part of our group, although we do have companies as well, the fact of the matter is 10,000 hours is not done in 5 years. Typically, an entrepreneur probably does it in 2.5 to 3. I mean, I'm working 7 hours a week. So when you're working 70 hours a week, it doesn't take long to get to the 10,000 hours to be the expert. But the reality is that's our formula. That's what we try to strive for, and that's what we say. If you can do that, you probably are an expert. You probably can add something to help us out. So we have experts every single week, and that's what we do. As far as the education part, we did discuss that earlier, but we pretty much want to educate you. We want to help you be more successful, and we help you by the methods that we discussed. One is this great story, this great company that started with nothing, and they made it. I'm going to follow some of those things, not everything. And you add up all these things over the years, over 7.5 years, and you listen to all the stories and everything about how somebody succeeded. You capture all those, and you've got your education, and you can take it to the top level. But our show, we always are very, very enthusiastic, and we get very excited.
It doesn't have the same effect on the phone, but it's all right. We'll take it. I know you're around other people, so you can't really scream into the phone. You're going to get dirty looks.
I'm in a hotel.
Yeah.
So I can't scream that loud. And I also thought I'd be nice to John because I hadn't told him in advance that I was going to scream so loud in his ear that he wouldn't be able to hear for 3 more days. But I actually used that word, empathy.
Empathy. Wow, look, there it comes around. Great. You're learning. See? You're growing and learning.
That contradicts with my ego, though. So I don't know. We'll have to figure that one out.
Good luck.
All right. And there's a couple others. For instance, our co-host, she loves Olivia Newton-John. And so we always say grease lightning is electrifying.
Electrifying. Yes. That's a great show.
Absolutely. But now our guest is saying, what did I get myself into? Why am I here? And I don't know why I even decided I'm going to do this, but I'm here, so I'm stuck with it. So, John, are you there?
I am here, Peter.
All right. So, John, a couple of things. People don't know what you are, your background. So we want to go quickly over your background, not what you're currently working on or what you're currently doing, but your background, to give your expertise of how you got to where you are today, and then we can go over your company, what you offer, and try to help people and educate them. So first of all, give a little bit about your background.
Great. Well, I've been doing business development. That is growing my own companies or helping other people to grow their businesses for over 24 years. And in that time, I built 4 industry-leading companies, one in construction, one in property management, one in wellness, and one in construction tech. And so over these 24 years plus, really, I've been working to try to figure out how do you grow businesses. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, and some of it's good and a lot of it's not. And so what are the techniques? What are the strategies? What is the marketing that's working? And it changes all the time. So this is what I've been involved in for 24 years. During that time of the initial, the first business I started failed dramatically, but that was a learning experience. But the second business I started was ranked 14th in the U.S. So, I've just had a lot of in the trenches, trial and error, if you will, and that is, that's what I've been doing for a long time, and trying to find out that magical formula, if there is one, of how do you succeed as an entrepreneur and a business owner today.
And so the people that you did you work at these companies as just the business development person, or did you own these companies, the 4 companies you're talking about?
Well, of those, 2 of them, I owned them. One was a concrete business. I sold that. One was a property management firm. I sold that. The wellness client, which actually was based in Long Beach, I started with him last year, and within literally a short period of time, months, he went from being unknown to being number 2 in his industry, and now he's really in a tie for number 1. And then the other company, the construction tech company, was actually based in Beijing, China, and they are number 1 in their specific industry in the world. But as I started out, it was from my businesses, and then I've evolved where it's probably 80% is for other clients.
And what is the company you currently have right now?
The company that I own is Salt Mine Development with an E. Salt Mine Development.
And, well, I imagine you're not developing, salt mines. So what exactly are you doing?
No, the name comes from the old days. The old saying, when you go into the office, you're going to the salt mine. We're going to the salt mine today to go to work. That was where I got that from. And what Salt Mine Development does is offer a full range of, marketing, both traditional marketing, digital marketing, business development, consulting, whatever's needed to help an entrepreneur, whether they're a startup or they've been at it for a few years and maybe they're looking for new ways and new markets to grow into. How do they do that? And that's what we do.
Jen, you had a question?
Yeah, you just mentioned that you work, it's kind of like full range, John. You work with businesses that are just starting up versus businesses that have been around a while. What's, I would think like different situations bring different opportunities for you to develop the way that you treat people. So can you compare and contrast like working with somebody who's brand new and green versus someone who's been doing this a while? And what does that do for you?
I think that the thing is this, is if you've got someone that's new, I'm not saying that maybe they're a little bit more open to creative ideas, because today, and if you're building a business, I don't care what level you're at, whether you're a startup or you're a Fortune 500, you have got to be creative, and you've got to be creative. So a lot of times people will have built a wheel a certain way, and they think this is the way it should work. But if that wheel's not getting them up the hill, then they've got to be creative. And that can be a challenge where someone who is new and sort of green will be maybe more open to that. That's what comes to my head right now. But everybody's in the same boat. I don't care if you're starting up or you've been at it for 2 or 3, 4, 5 years. You're trying to grow, and there are strategies that work and there are strategies that don't. And it really doesn't matter what level you are. The strategy has got to work, and that's the answer to that.
Well, let's take that a little bit further. I mean, so you're basically saying that the greener you are, the more open you are? Is that what you're saying?
I think that people that are brand new have got, they don't have any ideas. So when I come in, I can sort of clear out the fog, right? Because I know what's going to work. If you say I've got this kind of business, I can say, look, I know these things are going to work and these things are not. So that's number one. And then we can get creative with them, where a lot of times a company that's been doing it for a long time, they've got a certain way of doing things and they think that is the way that works. But if that were the way it was working all that great, they wouldn't have been calling me in the first place. So that's the point I guess I'm trying to make.
You used the word earlier, business development, but that's such an arbitrary, vague word. And a lot of people get confused. Business development. I mean, and usually it's within the marketing part. But what exactly does that mean, business development? And how does that differ than, that's part of the marketing scheme. So what does that mean?
Well, what that means is it's like you hear about digital marketing agencies, and there's many of them out there, many sizes. Some are good, some are not. What we do is a little bit different. We do all of the digital marketing, right? The paid ads, the email campaigns, all of those things. But we also look at your company strategically, right? So what are the other things that we can be doing that are not digital, that are in real world, so to speak? And then looking at the structure of your business, looking at are there other markets out there that maybe you haven't considered, and this type of thing. So business development encompasses digital marketing, but it does more than that. It really is more of a holistic approach to growing your business.
And I like that. I like that term "holistic" because that is such a, I don't want to say buzzword, but it's used a lot really these days. And obviously not just talking about how you operate your business. It's talking about your health and your wellness and exercise and all that. So I think that's a great word to use because it's something that people understand and they can kind of connect with and relate to.
Well, and I'll give you one example about that. You look at AI, right? Now, AI is the hot thing today, right? It is one of the the main 3 industries that are growing. There are only 3 industries that are growing right now: AI, green energy, and life sciences, which encompasses wellness, pharmacology, all of these things. But AI is the number 1 growing industry right now. But the challenge that they're facing, everybody thinks, well, I come up with an AI, I can launch it, I'm going to be successful. The challenge that they're facing, and this was actually reported at CNBC probably about 4 months ago, is that businesses in many cases are not buying. And the reason is it's not that they don't think AI can do all these wonderful things and blah, blah, blah. It is the transition. So businesses, these companies that have AI, are not really taking the hand of their client and showing them how to transition their operations, their sales, or whatever part of the operation this AI is impacting, how to make that happen. And so within the business development frame we're talking about here, we would help those clients. Okay, how do you take you're an AI company. How do you get your clients that you're trying to reach out to, how do you show them that transition? Because if I'm the vice president of some company and I've been tasked with this and I bring in AI and we lay off a bunch of people and the AI doesn't work or there's a big problem, well, then I'm not going to be looking too good for the next pay raise. So the point I'm trying to make is that each business, each industry has these unique things. You can market all day long, but you've got to have the right processes, development, and things in place so that when that marketing comes in, you're actually being able to deliver for the client.
John, what do you think is the most important thing you need to be successful in marketing?
The most important thing?
Yeah.
Persistence. Most people, I will tell you right now, having run my own businesses for over 20 years, if you go 2 days and there's not a problem, you're blessed. There is a problem all the time. When I had my construction project, we had 20 projects going on at any given time. And every single day on every single project, there's a problem. That is the nature of the game. It has no relativity to how good you are as a business manager. It doesn't. It is the game of entrepreneurship that there's going to be problems, okay? So most people just can't take that pressure out. They're going to like, it's too much hassle, it's too many hours, there's no guarantees, I'm going to go get a real job. And they do, and their dream is never fulfilled. The key to being an entrepreneur and a business owner is persistence. You've got a good product, you've got a good strategy, you're marketing right, stay with it. That is the number one most important trait you can have as an entrepreneur.
So let's stay with that persistence level for a question, and then Jen has a couple questions. But on the persistence level, right? So how long do you go with something? So let's say you start brand new company A, and you do Facebook ads, right? And you've been doing it for a month, 3 months, 6 months. How long do you wait before you say, hey, listen, this isn't working, I got to switch things around?
That's a good question. In my experience, what I do, now, first of all, you've got to make sure you've done the due diligence. You've looked at this thing strategically, so you've got something that, it's not just a hope and a prayer. But generally, within 6 months, you ought to have enough information, enough knowledge, enough seeing what's happened to either realize I am on a successful track and I can do X, Y, Z to expand it. I'm not on a successful track and I've got to pivot, or I've hit a dead end. So I would say 6 months. In today's world, with the marketing that's out there and the ability to reach millions of people pretty quickly, I would say that the answer to that generally is 6 months. Now, obviously, if you're building an electric car company, it's going to take you 3 years to get a model out the door. But for most startup companies, 6 months, I would say you should have enough information at that point to be able to determine, do I have something that's viable here, and how do I have to move to get it right?
Jen?
John, I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of what you were just talking about with Facebook ads and that kind of thing. I was looking through your website, and you had kind of specifically talked about social media marketing. You don't necessarily just throw things at people. Like, people want engagement, and your clients want engagement. So that's tricky, because people have things coming at them all the time at all angles, especially with social media. So you've got your work cut out for you in order to kind of really hone in and get someone's attention.
That's correct. And I have a thing I call the blue balloon strategy, meaning you're getting, everything out there is a red balloon because you're saturated with all this stuff. You've got to be a blue balloon. And I'll give you listeners really something that most clients pay for, but I'm going to give it to them since they're listening today, a very secret hack, if you will, that actually works. And we developed this with a company in Silicon Valley some really high-tech tech guys. One of them worked at Google, one of them worked at Facebook, one of them worked at Samsung. These were all engineers. And this is the trick for social media marketing. It isn't the stuff you're throwing out there. They say content is key. I don't actually believe that anymore. The key to social media is engagement. That is what people are looking for. They want to be social. So how do you do that? Here's the technique. And nobody does this, and the rewards of this are phenomenal. I could sit here and give you client and people examples. And what is this? When you look at social media, let's say you go on Twitter, for example, or X, you can go in there. What you do is you go in there, and let's say you're selling whatever product it is, and you can search or anybody discussing that product today. So you can find the conversations on Instagram, on Twitter, that's happening about your product. You can see who's talking about what you do. So then what you want to do is you want to engage those conversations. Now, how do you do that? Let me tell you one secret. Liking something has absolutely no value. Okay, so just do that. But what you do is somebody's commenting about your product or whatever you're doing. You go in there, you like it, and then you click comment. And then generally you ask them a serious question. You know what I mean? You would comment on what they're saying and you ask them a question. This way you're using social media to engage people and create real conversations. We did this with an electric bike startup in Mountain View, and we compared our results to the top 5 electric bike companies in the world. And at the beginning, the electric bike client we had 50 followers, and these top 5 electric bike companies had 500,000 combined. And using this technique, every single week, on every single platform, in every single category, we had higher results than all 5 of them combined. Because what did they put out? Buy our bike, get a 10% discount. Buy our bike, get a free helmet. Nobody cares about that stuff. But by engaging people who are talking about electric bikes and electric bike issues and bike lanes online, we blew up our social media. So there's a technique that people can use that has phenomenal results if that's what you want to do, if you want to grow your social media and tap in and engage online.
Well, we've got to take a break, John. We're going to be right back to listen to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Like no other station in the world.
One and only.
Well, we have a great guest. Yes, exactly. And the one and only engineer. Who today is wearing multiple hats.
I am, yeah.
Engineer, sponsor, and co-host.
Co-host, yeah.
Wow.
It's good. I like it.
This could become your show, Jen.
No, I would not take this from Tracy. This is Tracy's rightful spot. I enjoy learning from you guys, so this is good because it kind of it forces me to think outside the box a little bit.
Well, that's really good. You're doing a great job. John, I wanted to follow up. So, first of all, you discussed comments that you want to make comments. That's the most important thing to get from social media, getting the comments. The likes are kind of irrelevant. But how many platforms do you typically need to be on, and which ones? And how do you figure out which ones?
It depends on what you're doing. There are some platforms that you need to be on, though I don't have a lot of hope that it gets you business. But you need to be, generally speaking, if you're doing social media marketing, you need to be on Facebook. You need to be on Instagram. You need to be on Twitter. You need to be on Pinterest, especially if it's a visual medium like fashion or something like that. Reddit is a powerful, and I'm going to say right now, probably the most powerful, misunderstood, and hardest to negotiate platform out there. But the amount of people you can reach and quickly on Reddit is one of the best. YouTube, obviously, if you're making videos, again, it depends. These are just the top ones everybody's heard of. And then, then TikTok. TikTok, it also depends on your market. So let me give you an example. If your market is 20 to 30-year-olds in the U.S., Facebook is going to give you nothing, but you still need to be there. Facebook is for people 45 and above. we were running ads for a client recently on Facebook, and everybody they were sending were 60 years old and above. And I was like, okay, if this is what Facebook thinks the answers are, but, you're still going to be on there because, people may find you, but each platform has its own demographics, its own, market. So you need to be on all the big ones, but you need to look at what specific is your market going to be for your specific product or, your target market. Where are they at? That's the key thing. Where are they at? And speaking of that, let's talk about LinkedIn, because everybody thinks, well, LinkedIn is where everybody's at, all professionals. Yes, and that's great. And that's also the reason it doesn't work. I have yet to see anybody. You can find clients on LinkedIn, but it is not this wellspring of wonderful professionals who are going to buy your product. So you need to be there too. It really needs to be strategy. So you look at your market, you look at who is your target client, and then you're going to, you can set up a presence on all these platforms. You can engage with the ones you think are the most. And then if you're going to paid ads, you need to test it. Somebody comes to me and says, I'm going to spend $1,000 on Facebook. I would say, no, you're not. You're going to spend $100 on Facebook, and we're going to test specific ads. We're going to test. And then when you find something that works, you can increase it. And that's really the key. It's all about testing these platforms to make sure they're aligned with your specific target market.
And that sounds like it's kind of a crapshoot, for lack of a better phrase, if you will. Because as a business owner, you don't really know what's going to stick, I would assume, right, John? And so you're just kind of hoping that, well, let's see what I get back from Facebook versus, Instagram or an X post or whatever. So you're taking a risk. It's a gamble, at least initially, I would assume.
That there is true. It is a little bit of a crapshoot, but if you do the research and we really look at that again, understanding my target market is this type of persona, that definitely can help. The one we didn't, but on paid ads, though, and I would recommend this to anybody if they're in a startup. If you're doing paid ads, do Google, because Google, based on your specific money you're spending and the key search words that you're looking at, they can give you with very high reliability how many clicks, how many people they're going to drive to your website. They can do that. Facebook is not going to do that. Facebook cannot take your specific ad and tell you that. But Google can. So if you're a startup or you're a new company and you want to spend money on paid ads, that's where I'd spend my money. That's where I spend my money. It's only on Google. I don't do Facebook and other places. I would recommend to anybody, if you're looking to spend money for the first time on paid ads, start with Google. They're going to get you better results.
We got to take a break to listen to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. And now a word from our sponsor.
And you're sitting at home listening to the show thinking, okay, well, John's giving all this great information. Where do I even begin? This can be a little overwhelming if you are sitting there wanting to become an entrepreneur, wanting to start your own business. You've been thinking about it for years and you still haven't gotten off of go. Your best bet is to check out legalsteps.com. It's LEGALSTEPZ. It's spelled with a Z.com. You can take different courses. You can take a course to learn how to register a trademark, form an S corporation, form an LLC. All the courses are very affordable. They all fall under $150. So don't let something like finances keep you from your goal, from your dream of wanting to start your own business. You can take these super affordable classes and then get ahead. I took the S Corporation, and I've talked before about I am not a business owner, nor do I have the interest in doing so, but I wanted to take the course just so I kind of knew what I was talking about, to experience it. And I really found it to be very easy. I'm sure you're with me that some of the legalese, if you will, the forms that you have to fill out, it can be a little overwhelming and sometimes a little confusing. So it was really helpful to me to be able to see the legal expert on my computer screen. I could see what they were looking at, and I knew that I was in good hands. I knew that I was answering the questions the right way, filling out the forms properly, and I wasn't going to miss anything that was vital to my progress. The screen is great. You can pause it, rewind it, work at your own pace. It took me less than 2 hours. I've got kids running around and dogs barking and dinners burning and all of that, and I was able to accomplish accomplished this course in my own time, on my own pace, didn't have to worry about fitting it into someone else's schedule. The experts, by the way, that I speak of have over 30 years experience, and so you know you're in good hands, and all the courses are reviewed by those attorneys. And if you can't do it, if you kind of hit a roadblock and you're frustrated and confused, they will just do it for you. So there really is no option for you to pass on this. Go to legalstepz.com. Again, it's legalstepz.com.
Well, thank you very much.
You
Listen
bet.
to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. And we're back with our guest, John. John, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So when you talk about testing, people don't understand what that means. So, you're testing $100 of ads or whatever, you're testing on Google. How do you measure the test? Because if you can't measure the test, then you could be spending $100 for the next 6 years. I mean, how do you determine the validity of the test? What parameters, what things do you look for?
Well, if you're doing Google, you're doing predominantly pay-per-click, so you're going to know exactly how many people are going to your website, and Google will give you those analytics of how many people have come to your website, and that really is the key to it. It's that if I'm spending X dollars and I'm getting X number of people to my website, then the website itself has to be the closer. The website has to have that user experience that takes them from Google, where they search, down through your website to where they make the call to action. And that sometimes can be a problem if your website is not aligned properly. And then if you're getting people that click on your website, they're buying your product, then you've got a comparison. You say, okay, I'm spending $100 a month on Google. They're giving me 300 people that are coming onto my website, and I've got 100 of them spending, $20 for my product. Well, then you've doubled your money. That's basically how that works.
And does that work for? Does that work for no matter what medium we're talking about, or is it just Google? I mean, for instance, how does it work then on Facebook? Because everybody says Facebook is the place you have to be. Facebook has probably only not as many, but close to the number of users that a Google does. How do you do the testing on Facebook? Because they're not providing you. They used to provide all the information, my understanding, but recently, in the last few years, they're not giving all the same information. So how do you test the validity on Facebook?
Well, no offense to Facebook, but if my clients aren't 50 and above in the U.S., I'm not going to use Facebook because it's just not. It's not there. The market people that are under 50 are not on Facebook in the U.S. They may be in other countries, but not in the U.S. So it just doesn't. It doesn't give you those results. And I'll give you an example. I had a guy in 2019 who spent money. He had a concert was coming into town, a big name. He wanted to promote this. He was giving away tickets, VIP tickets to the concert, and he had a contest. This was 2019. He ran an ad on Facebook. He had 1,000 people sign up for 10 tickets. 1,000 people, 2019. In 2023, same concert coming into town, same thing. He runs a new ad on Facebook. He boosts the ad on Facebook. He even reaches out to the entertainer's fan club. And in 2023, he got not 1,000, he got 18 people that signed up for the tickets. So These markets, these platforms are changing. And, we look at this thing every day. It really is client specific. Each person, some people may have something on Facebook. Many of them won't. This is why the testing is important.
Is it difficult to get people to adjust and flow with you, if you will? Because I'm thinking about, this XYZ company, their main target, their demographic would be, a 60 and up, if you will. Is that tough to kind of convince people, no, let's get away from Facebook, even though, yes, it would kind of lend itself to your clients, to your potential audience? It's got to be tricky to really go with the flow because, like you just mentioned, John, it's constantly changing. That the landscape of social media is changing almost daily.
Well, if they've tried it, a lot of times we get people come to us and say, we've, been using this digital marketing agency and it's just not working, or we've tried this, it's just not working. And so we step back and take a fresh look at what are they doing exactly, what we know works, how do we get more creative, how do we think outside of the box, all this type of stuff to get better results. Because this is what it's all about. It's about results, right? Mm-hmm. And so, again, it really is client specific, but I think that there are answers out there. What you don't want to get into is just repeating the same things that everybody else is saying, do this, do that, and it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work. A quick example, I had a client come to me who had a mobile app startup. Now, 70% of startups fail. 99.5% of mobile apps fail. There's 1 million of them launched every year, and 99.5% fail. And he came to me and said, I've got a 63-point precision marketing plan I want you to do. Well, if it's 63 points, it's not precision. And it's Facebook, and it's influencer marketing. I'm like, do you know Taylor Swift or LeBron James? He's like, no. I'm like, well, you don't have any influencer marketing, do you? He said, well, we're going to write press releases. I said, the Los Angeles Times is not going to write a story about your startup. But I'm going to try your technique for 1 month. And it did. Of course, he learned. But then what I told him is, look, I gave him 2 things that he could do that mobile apps weren't doing, and it became successful. And one of them was having a mascot, because it was about college students. And it changed to dynamics. Nobody had thought about that. The only mascots for mobile apps are in Japan and Korea. They all got mascots. In the U.S., mobile apps don't have mascots. So, again, it depends on each client. You've got to get creative. But, back to the ads, a lot of times they come and they've tried a bunch of things. It's not the ad. It's the platform that's not.
John, are you there?
Hello?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Well, we got to take a break anyway. You listen to the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You listen to the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM with our guest today, John Davenport. Well, John, how can people connect with you? So let's say somebody says, you know what, this guy really has a lot of good ideas. I'd like to test him out or see what, or have a question for him. How can they reach you?
They can find us online at saltmine, that's with an E, saltminedevelopment.com, saltminedevelopment.com, and my email is john@saltminedevelopment.com.
And you mentioned to me earlier that you're offering some deal for our listeners. What was that?
I will. I do offer you a deal for your listeners. We an introductory, if you would, price for paid ads. This means we will run your paid ads, and that introductory price is $600, and that includes a 100 of that is for the ad itself. So if you want to go out there and you want to test, we can do that for $600. Most companies will charge you $1,000 to run your ads. Then you have to pay on top of that for the ad itself. What we're saying is $600. We'll throw in 100 of that to the ad, and this way, for a very small amount of money, we can actually go in there, find the right keywords, or do the right ads that actually get you some business. And this is a really good introductory way to show you what we can do, and you don't have to risk a lot of money at the same time get some results.
Wow, that's great. And just tell people what they have to do to go through that special.
They just need to reach out to me either through email or contact on our website, and let them know that they heard about us on KHTS Radio on the Ask Brien show, and then they will automatically qualify, and we will, which is it's a 40% discount. So we'll get them signed up for that, and we'll we'll get into a meeting with them, talk about exactly what's your goals, et cetera, and we can get this thing moving.
Wow, that's a super deal. And for anybody who's missed any part of the Ask Brien show today on radio station KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM, well, we have a podcast version. It usually takes 10 days to 2 weeks to come out, and it's available on all the major podcast places. So you can go to Spotify, Amazon, Apple, wherever you listen to a podcast, you can go there and you can listen to this show again. So maybe you missed something, or you know what, the dog was barking, or your kid came home and you have to go out and do something and you missed that 5 minutes. Or maybe you missed the whole show. You didn't have an opportunity. Or you can go through the shows. Maybe there's a show on SEO. Maybe there's a show on something that you want to learn about. Just go to Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, wherever you catch a podcast, and you can catch our podcast, so you won't miss anything. Now, we only have about a minute or two left, so we don't have a lot. So, John, this is a question we ask. It's a tough question. What has been the biggest challenge in your business?
The biggest challenge is, I've been doing it for so long, so I'll face them all, but quickly, probably the biggest challenge is just being able to adapt, because things change and markets change, and what you thought was, working yesterday may not work tomorrow. So being adaptable is key, and just sticking with it. As we said, persistence is the secret.
Persistence is the secret, and consistency is your friend. Well, thank you very much, John. And unfortunately, the show has come to an end. You're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM. Over and out. Until next week.